I do think that the idea of, you know, anchor babies, someone just coming here and being like, oh, now me and my, because I mean, do you get the whole, you get like someone is born here, or you have a kid here, and then mom can stay to take care of the kid, and then because of that they can start chain migration. It's a ridiculous.
Look at what the left is saying. They're saying Trump's going to deport U.S. citizens, yet children, because their parents are leaving.
Leftists,
I say this, Donald Trump. Here's the proposal. The proposal is, we're not going to deport any U.S. citizens. That 3-year-old child can stay here as a ward of the state, or can go with their parents back home.
Yep. And then when they're 18, they can come back to the U.S. because
the left wants family separation. What can I say?
I don't have a problem with
Do you guys think that Trump is going to come through really hardcore with the immigration stuff?
I mean, if he's talking about doing it on day one.
Yeah.
That's a bold statement to say on day one he's going to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Because day one is 2 months.
Yep.
Not even. We're looking at a month and 10 days.
I can't wait to see what. I just want to see what happens. Like, I mean, I do have a preference, a policy preference that I want to see, but I really want to see like what happens when Donald Trump is actually the president again and is actually starting to influence policy, making executive orders and pressuring Congress to do things and pass legislation that he can sign. You know,
if he was to do this executive order thing, what would that look like?
Well, I mean, he said it would. I don't know. I don't think that it's been fleshed out. But there are people, even if he didn't tell people on his staff that this was his intent before he said this on the show, as soon as they heard him say that, they're like, all right, well, we got to start writing, because that's exactly what happened when he made an offhanded remark about silencers when there was a shooting used with a silencer, and he was like, yeah, someone said, don't you think these should be illegal? And he's like, well, we'll look into it. And people, even though he didn't actually specifically tell anyone, he said it in an interview, people heard that, people on his staff heard that, like, all right, we got to start coming up with some kind of framework for how that'll work, and et cetera, et cetera.
So this is like he's saying he's going to make an executive order that will override the Constitution?
No. He's saying he's going to issue an executive order that says the Constitution of the 14th Amendment must be enforced as it's written. That is to say, if you are born in this country and subject to its jurisdiction, you're a citizen. Guess what? If two people who are not of the United States come here and have a child, that child is not subject to its jurisdiction. It's subject to the jurisdiction of the citizenship of the families. Yep. Let's put it this way. If two people came here from China and gave birth to a child, and then the U.S. tried taking that child, saying it's ours, what do you think China's going to do?
Right.
They're going to be, no, you're not.
Right.
But I think it's a. Oh, okay. It honestly is fairly simple. Like Tim said, if they're subject to its jurisdiction, the words in these amendments matter. Like the idea that you can just interpret around the intent and purpose of an amendment. That's that's constructing law from the bench. And that's something that the judiciary is not supposed to do. The judiciary is not supposed to write law. At the most, they're supposed to interpret law, but they're definitely not supposed to create law.
I'm starting to see this, actually, the legitimacy of what you guys are talking about, that if people that are, I'm just going to reiterate what's been said, and people in the chat are like, he's so just doing that. Anyway, people come over here illegally. They're here illegally. They have a kid on the soil while they're illegally here. The kid isn't necessarily subject to the jurisdiction of the state.
Correct.
Because they were here born of illegal people that are here illegally.
Right. So, but why would a child be subject to our jurisdiction simply for being born here? Right. Let's say a family from Mexico visits the United States as tourists and they bring their 7-year-old kid. None of them are subject to our jurisdiction. We have certain jurisdiction where we can say we're deporting you, but they're subject to the jurisdiction of Mexico as Mexican nationals, and we have a treaty by which we respect them, and we allow them here on certain terms. So the argument they're making is that, but if you're in our jurisdiction, we can arrest you. And it's like, yes, but we can't imprison you because it creates an international crisis where that country then makes demands over their citizens who they have jurisdiction over.
A lot of times if someone from another country breaks the law, we'll arrest them and then just ship them out of here.
It's not our jurisdiction. You are here in our country, committed a crime, and we're sending you home.
What does it mean to be subject to the jurisdiction of? That's what I'm looking up right now.
The principal argument is that when this was written, it was referring to slaves of the United States who were born here and have no other country to call home. They were under the jurisdiction of the U.S. government, where slave patrols could capture them if they tried to escape. After the Civil War, they said if you were born here and subject to our jurisdiction, you're a citizen.
Yeah, this says United States versus Wong Kim Ark 169 U.S. 649 in 1898. The Supreme Court wrote that subject to the jurisdiction would appear to have been to exclude by the fewest and fittest words besides children of members of the Indian tribes.
Children? Yeah, can you articulate that one more time?
So it's supposed to jurisdiction, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, kind of appears to have excluded children of members of Indian tribes.
So here's a super chat
in
from
the country, but they're not subject to the jurisdiction.
Amos Moses says, before the Indian Citizenship Act of 1924, Indians born in the U.S. were not citizens because they were not subject to the U.S. jurisdiction.
Yeah. There was
they had treaties. They have their own land. Still to this day, on native land, there are certain federal regulations based on treaties. But this is what actually created casinos. They were arguing that they were not to be regulated by the state, and the states were like, "Yeah, right," and they were like, "Try me, dude."
Mm-hmm. Technically, that's why you hear about the Cherokee Nation. They're considered a nation of their own. They're considered separate from the United States of America. And because of that, they're not subject to the jurisdiction.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.